That's right. Greetings, fellow Armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
Welcome to the show that comes with guaranteed creativity and a forecast of inspiration. It's time to grab our umbrellas and head to the dry erase board for some Ridestormin. And tonight, folks, the Ogre has left the building, which has left a vacant spot in the Universal Studios Florida attraction lineup that Dragon and I are hoping to fill on this installment of Ridestormin. All right, Dragon, fun times. This is episode 3 of Ridestormin. You know, we're still trying to find our sea legs with this, but I think I think we're having fun. We're kind of experimenting with the structure a little bit. Last time we did the Bedrock City podcast. That was interesting because it was more of a collaboration. This one is going to be kind of like you and me pitching different ideas to each other like we did the first time around. So I'm very excited to get into it, Dragon. Right now, the big rumor for what's going to go into Shrek 4D space is the Minions, specifically something revolving around the villain con from the Minions movie. And I don't know, I'm not entirely against that just because for the pure synergy of it all, you could have a nice little Despicable Me land right at the start of the park. I think that has potential. But Dragon, for our sake, for our thought experiment, we went Dreamworks and Dreamworks only. We weren't going to dabble in Illumination or any other animation studio. And also, importantly, we weren't going to go the Universal Hollywood route and just have the Dreamworks theater so they could switch things in and out. No, we wanted to build attractions that would stand the test of time and hopefully, have as long or at least as meaningful of a run in these theaters as Shrek did. All right. So has Donkey left his spot too? I don't know, Dragon. That's a good question. Do we want to just keep Donkey in his cart, in his waffle cart?
I mean, I had a replacement for
Yeah.
Donkey in mind, so but I mean, I have no problem.
You know
with
what?
Donkey.
I'm going to keep Donkey in mind, but I have a good plot reason for it. We'll get there.
Okay.
All right. So, Dragon, my attraction is, of course, based on How to Train Your Dragon. It's I decided to place it in between the second movie and third movie. And it's going to be obviously a theater attraction. And the sell of it is, or the title of it is going to be called, basically, I'm going to take the Dragon Challenge from Dueling Dragons. That was the name of Dueling Dragons after it got transitioned into Harry Potter, and I'm going to call it the How to Train Your Dragons Dragon Challenge. All right, Dragon, want to set up yours just a little bit?
Okay, so as you can probably tell, I went with Megamind. So yeah, I have a Megamind, my favorite DreamWorks film. I adore it. I was thinking, I mean, I think the go-to obviously is it's How to Train Your Dragon, and beyond that probably be Kung Fu Panda. Those would be the go-to franchises in terms of the most quality franchises you could go to. But I kind of realized, particularly with How to Train Your Dragon, Dubai's kind of got us beaten. It's embarrassing, but Dubai is pretty much everything with How to Train Your Dragon. They literally have like a whole land, but bear in mind, it's like nothing but California. It's kind of like nothing but orange groves over there. And like they can build anything they want in Dubai.
Right.
So, like the only thing I've ever seen attraction-wise in Megamind, I think, is probably in Dubai or some park as well, or like one of those drop things, like you see, like it appear. Everyone skits on the thing,
Sure.
lifts up, and drop thing. Yeah. Anyway, so the premise for me, quite simply, I've always loved Megamind. I've always wanted to. They did this short film called The Button of Doom, which essentially is in many respects, it's kind of a pseudo kind of pilot or proof of concept thing, in which it's somewhat of a sequel. It shows you. It kind of shows you what happens after Megamind in terms of Megamind making his transition from villain to hero, and it kind of leaves it basically with the shot we have before us here. Like, he's got a signal and everything. He's being embraced as a hero. He's kind of doing it on his own terms. So that's essentially what I'm trying to do in attraction form. Basically, do what Megamind needs. Like, give that a continuation, man.
Nice.
So basically,
but I like that too, because that is also kind of like carrying on in the tradition of you haven't seen How to Train Your Dragon theme park, Priest? I'm not sure how you'd feel about Megamind. A lot of people love Megamind, but How to Train Your Dragon is fantastic. I view it as a modern classic in animation.
That's a very solid trilogy at the very least.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so basically, very simple, like one sentence thing here is Megamind's embracing his approach to heroing, and he holds an exhibition slash press conference at his, basically the Metro Man Museum, now a Megamind museum, basically the Flash Museum equivalent for our heroes in that movie. So that's pretty much that's where the whole thing's kind of set. So that's what the attraction is. You're going inside the Megamind Museum.
Okay. All right, so that's your exterior. Do you have any other details about the exterior before we get into the queue itself?
Oh yeah, sure. So with the exterior again, being the museum, which we saw at the very end of Megamind, and we only saw the bare exterior where they replaced the Metro Man statue with him holding Minion in like a little fishbowl. So you have like that statue there. The paint job's going to be white, blue, black, a little bit of white with the existing building. Tesla coils all up the yin yang. You got the whole recycled scrap kind of upgrades, which is kind of what Megamind's kind of aesthetics all about. So the idea is kind of a mixture of the evil lair with the Metro Man museums. That's essentially what it kind of looks like. That's kind of the take on this, using the existing building. There's a giant battle suit on one side. Kind of remember when Ant-Man was like kind of clinging to that building in Ant-Man and the Wasp at the end?
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like that. You have the giant battle suit from Megamind holding the giant boombox, and it plays Megamind's playlist. So it'll play like Bad. It'll play Bad to the Bone. It'll play stuff like Mr. Blue, Mr. Blue Sky, all that sort of.
Yeah, I like that.
Also, so my replacement for Donkey on the exterior too, like around that area, you have an animatronic Minion meet and greet going on there. Maybe a cast member dressed as Megamind, kind of hamming it up. So that's the idea. So like Minion would be like just kind of posing for pictures of people from kind of where the Donkey's kind of set up at. Be an amazing animatronic Minion.
All right. So Dragon, I actually decided to go in a slightly meta direction with my exterior. All right. I'm not sure you're prepared for this. So the exterior of my attraction, get ready because we're gonna do some heady meta stuff with the real building here. Is going to be a ruined Farquaad's castle. So, okay, let me explain. So the idea is that this is going to carry on the tradition of Universal Studios attractions where they actually are kind of taking place within the theme park environment in its own right. Examples of this are like Jurassic Park, and then also you have you have a bunch of examples of this. Where the Mummy is another big one at Universal Studios Florida, where the whole gag of it is that Farquaad's castle has been laid to waste in the and it now just kind of like sits at the entrance of Universal Studios Florida, just this abandoned castle. And so that is where Hiccup and company have decided to hold a dragon training center. Dragon, it's basically a new safeguard for the dragons.
Okay.
And so essentially what this does, like I said, it kind of contextualizes the attraction within the park itself, which is something that I think that Universal Studios does have an interesting talent for, even though, obviously with Universal, you get into stuff like Harry Potter, and it's very much like trying to transport you to that world. But with this, it's much more kind of like the castle is going to exist in the context of the park itself, if that makes sense. And so the dragon challenge of it all is going to be, you'll see what it is. But Donkey is still going to be there as the one Shrek cameo. But he's just going to be totally shell-shocked about the battle that took place that laid this castle to waste. So, Dragon, what I want you to picture here with this castle is, let's say some big battle happened, like something far more than we've ever seen in the Shrek franchise, and it has just totally laid the castle to waste. It's basically like a ruin at this point. I don't know. I just think like as far as the real building goes, I think that would be really interesting, especially when you consider that the castle itself was always part of the exterior for Shrek 4D. So what you would have is you would have kind of like Dragon. Essentially, the way I equate it is when you play a video game, and then should Dragon be presenting how to train your dragon? Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, I could have, but you really wanted it, and also
I
again,
know, I did.
Yeah, it was a 50-50 shot.
So Dragon, I know you're not a big gamer, but there's there's sometimes in game franchises where there would be a really iconic location that you visit in one game, and then you'll go back to it in a sequel, but time has passed and something's happened to it, and so it feels familiar, but you can also kind of just feel the gravity of the situation. Well, the Ruined Castle is kind of like my way of like, it's tying into Shrek 4D. It's very much homaging Shrek 4D, and also sort of like tying the attraction into the park as a whole. But also the the heavy remnants of war and everything, that theme is going to I think mix well with the more mature tone of the franchise just in general. All right. So Dragon, why don't you set up your outdoor queue? What are you going to see on the outside before you enter the theater?
What Well, wait. So do you mean like the area with all like like the pre-show then, or do you not mean the pre-show?
No. If the pre-show's inside, then we'll get to that later. But is there anything outside of the pre-show, like before you go into the pre-show?
Well, I mean, I kind of summed it up.
Because, like I said, for me, it's the whole idea of like walking around the castle ruins, and you see a shell-shocked donkey is kind of like oh my god, there's dragons in there, man. There's dragons in there.
Well, again, I kind of already set that up with the exterior. I thought that's what you meant by exterior. I told you, like, we have, like, the giant suit, and you got minion, kind of little meet and greet going on there. I mean, beyond that, it's just kind of like, again, it's you're perhaps a few wanted posters of our villains in the piece. I mean, beyond that, you're just kind of making your way. Again, it's like basically a lot of like kind of Megamind being glorified. Oh, by the way, his logo's all over the place because he's getting really logo happy now that he has like a signal. So like,
now that's some fun Universal Studios branding. I could see that.
So there's a lot of that. This is in general, it's the idea. Megamind is very much he's kind of embracing his his accoutrements compared to like it's kind of the classical kind of like Chris Reeve knockoff stuff we have with Metro Man. Yeah.
So Dragon, why don't you just go right into the pre-show then?
Okay, here's the pre-show. So when you're inside, basically, I kind of added a little bit more of Muppet Vision because Muppet Vision was always kind of in the Shrek 4D kind of DNA to a degree. Only the seats, only the 4D element was kind of added there. So what I've done is ideally I'd like to expand a little bit of the inside area and give people something to do while they're waiting for everyone to file in. So the museum displays on the inside. This is like a lot of the cool stuff that's inside. Now, to be fair, maybe some of this could be on the outside, given the design of the Metro Man Museum. I'm not quite sure. I just put it all on the inside, just for kind of the ambiance of it all. But you have essentially wherever you like to kind of view it here, you'd have while you're waiting, the museum display basically turned all of Megamind's defeats that were kind of cataloged in the Metro Man Museum, but kind of spun them into that was part of his hero's journey.
Nice.
So you have like basically in the Metro Man Museum, you never really saw it fully in the movie. Ever look at the concept art and anything, you get to see how awesome it was. Like on like one end you have baby Metro Man, the other end you have like full grown Metro Man. It's like a timeline of his life. So you kind of have a little bit of that built in with Megamind. So you see like his origin. You have like the Binky in like a glass case, a little glowing Binky. You have like some photos of the J.K. Simmons warden like raising baby Megamind in the prison. You got minions like schematics to his body, like the evolution to the robotic gorilla suit. There's a gag. Oh, here's a gag on the outside too. I should have mentioned this is on the outside. There's a parking space that's reserved for the invisible car. But, so it's like see if like it's roped off, but there's nothing there.
Right. That's fun.
So there's a little bit of that. Again, there are a lot of Tesla coils with like some crates that say Romania, because that was like the guy, like, where do you get this? Like who sells all this stuff? Like some outlet in Romania. Minion, don't tell her all our secrets. that whole gag there. Anyway, so that's kind of what you have there. Now, so then we get the main setup. Of course, you have like your four, your three crates and your two screens. The whole like Pinocchio, the three pigs, and Gingy. And so here's how this whole pre-show goes with that in mind. That's set up essentially in mind. So Main setup on the monitor where Gingy is, you have Roxanne basically reporting live on basically the press conference, little kind of exhibition that Megamind's about to hold. You have some animatronic brain bots hanging from the ceiling that are looking really cool, and the big thing in the middle to kind of take the space of the three little pigs and or Pinocchio. You have the Spider bot, the spider bot, which is this giant, awesome, like a really impressive animatronic that actually kind of does stuff while people are waiting, kind of like moves up and down a little bit, looks kind of impressive. It's like the multiple crab spider leg looking thing. It's like
Yeah.
Anyway, on the other monitor is Minion, who essentially is running from the control room. He's running the show and he's preparing folks. He's kind of bickering with Megamind off screen as he's kind of frantic. Oh, we're about to start, Minion. Says everyone's ready, sir, and that sort of thing. Anyway, so Roxanne's being really supportive and everything, and so basically, Megamind's getting queued up to basically start the ride, essentially, and Minion. So Minion's basically kind of telling everyone, well, we're going to get started real shortly, folks. Megamind goes off. Don't forget to wear your cape, sir. So as that happens, Minion gets wind of basically what's going to happen in the ride, kind of like the whole Farquaad ghost of it all.
Okay.
So essentially, there's an escape that going down at the prison right now, and it's the Doom Syndicate.
Oh God.
So the Doom Syndicate were unused villains that did not make the final cut from the Megamind movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Now, three of them, the main three that made it like furthest into almost being in the movie, basically just realized, again, one of the great things about Megamind, trims the fat. It's not a bloated movie. You don't have like 3/3 acts or anything. None of that. Mm-hmm. So basically, three of them were reused for like the game or something, but the concept art kind of speaks for itself regardless. So three of those guys and some of the ones that didn't make the cutting room floor, I basically formed into kind of Megamind's version of the Sinister Six, only, like Hal would be like the six. So literally like No Way Home, pretty much. So you got Psychodelic, who's voiced by Keith David, like he is in the game. He's basically like a 70s disco version of the Scarecrow. Minion's giving you a lowdown on these guys while you're waiting, and then he sends you into the ride, essentially. You got Hot Flash, who's like Julie Newmar Catwoman, only past her prime with like a heat gimmick.
That's funny.
So the idea is like she's having hot flashes now. She's kind of past her
Okay,
prime.
that's a really clever, like, risque name. I like that.
I mean, it was more risky. I had to cut down how risque the original pitch of this character actually was, because she was in a relationship with Hal and everything, and
dear.
So I cut that out. But the point being, like a Julie Newmar, she thinks she's like Julie Newmar Catwoman, but every time anyone brings up she's a little past her prime, she gets temperamental about it and throws fireballs at people.
That's funny.
They have Destruction Worker, who's basically is like a cone, is like a construction cone for a mask, and it looks awesome. And he's like a disgruntled, muscly kind of Rhino-esque kind of bad guy. You get Lady Doppler, who's like weather powers, and lastly, you have Jive Turkey, who's basically a lame version of the Vulture, who makes really kind of 70s. The backstory I added on this guy.
Is really what I like about this setup is that it very much reminds me of the Spider-Man ride. It's almost like a parody of the Spider-Man ride.
Exactly, that's exactly what I'm going for.
Okay, cool.
So in the added backstory I've given the Jive Turkey, whose whole gimmick, he just looks like a lame version of the Vulture, is he's I'd like to think he's the pathetic kind of sidekick to Psychodelic, because he's from the 70s, he's from the same era. So Minion's frantic, like, oh dear, I'm going to handle this. You guys go take your seats. So he ushers everyone into the ride, and there's my pre-show.
Okay, cool. So my pre-show, it takes place in the dungeon, and again, they're going to be kind of like, I'm not going to recycle the boxes just because I couldn't figure out characters to put in them. Instead, we're going to have a fully sized, fully animated Toothless Animatronic right in the middle of the pre-show. Like, this thing is basically Dragon. It's designed kind of like in the style of Triceratops Spin, or not Triceratops Spin, I'm sorry, Triceratops Encounter, the old the old attraction where you used to like go up close and personal with a Triceratops animatronic. Like with Toothless, the whole idea is that you walk in and you're hit with like a wow moment before you even enter the theater, where it's like, okay, like the living, breathing Toothless character is right there, and we can walk like right up to him practically. I mean, obviously there's going to be like a fence, like a small fence to kind of like keep him, roped off from the guests, so they can't just get right up to him. But I mean, it's close, Dragon. It's like, it's designed to be kind of like an experience where it's like just standing near him is kind of like a, immersive and intimate in its own right. And then also in this room, we have Gobber, who's, taken up, this is his blacksmith shop. He's taken up the dungeon as his blacksmith shop. Gobber is kind of giving us some advice where he's saying that, Hiccup is, Hiccup and the other dragon trainers, They're basically letting guests in on the action. They're letting guests in on, that ride will kill everyone. So basically, Dragon, they're letting guests in on the dragon training process, and in order to do that, they have an interactive element involved that we're going to get to. But Gobber just thinks it's a bad idea, just because like the people of Burke might interact well with dragons because obviously Burke has had a long history of dragons. And this is another kind of interesting story beat here. The whole idea of what if you took the dragons out of Burke and moved them to a location where the people at said location, even if it's the quote unquote real world like we're doing here, are not as familiar with the dragons as the people of Burke are. So there would be that wow factor to it, that almost kind of like Jurassic Park style wow factor. Whereas with the people of Burke, as we already kind of like established in the franchise, they either coexist peacefully or the dragons are basically just like large nuisances. So Gobber's kind of like laying this all out. He kind of warns of the dangers of dragons. Kind of we get kind of like a cryptic a cryptic hint at Stoic's death, basically a be careful in there sort of thing. And he's saying like, Hiccup, like I trust what the kid's doing, but man, I don't know. Like basically Dragon's kind of hinted that between the second and third movie, Hiccup has gotten a little bit of an ego because, he's with his mom and just the things with the dragon training are going really well in Burke. And he's trying to branch out, essentially, Dragon. He's trying to find other people who can help in the dragon cause. Just thus, this stopover at Universal Studios. Rise of the Guardians, totally. Yeah, Super Billy, definitely. We've got this poll going on, but Theme Park Priest already suggested Sonic. Super Billy suggested Rise of the Guardians. We'll keep it in mind, guys. We'll definitely be putting these options on the poll as long as we don't get more than 5. If we get more than 5 suggestions, then we'll kind of have to be selective with it. But yeah, anything you guys want to throw out, like I said, within the first 5 suggestions that get thrown out, we'll probably just go ahead and put on the poll. So I would absolutely be down to do a Rise of the Guardians ride. But Dragon, you get my gist with this. The setup, does it make sense to you?
I mean, so far, I'll admit if I think too hard about like how Gobber would react, but it does. Overall though, it does sound like it makes sense.
He's like the worried parent now. That the idea is that Gobber is reacting in a in a concerned parent kind of way in the wake of the death of Stoic.
So because of that, I buy. Plus, Gobber was always the trainer, with the kids and the dragons. So
right, right, yeah.
Plus, exactly. Obviously, he's lost limbs to dragons. So, what I would do is I'd suggest perhaps maybe a little more lighthearted, like, and be careful, folks, you don't want to lose any limbs in there.
Yeah, for sure.
They're friendly creatures, but just one false move, right, something. Right. Keep all arms and hands inside the vehicle for a reason.
Okay, Dragon. You know what? Why don't you just go ahead and lay out your attraction, and I'll sit here and patiently listen for you to finish, and then you'll do the same for me.
Okay.
But if I have questions, I'll raise them. But
yeah.
I just want to give you the floor. I'm giving you the floor.
All right, so buckle up.
All right.
So, I want you to
keep all hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast at all times.
All right, folks, I want you to walk in the room. I want you to take your 4D seats and get ready. So, here's what happens. So you got instead of like honestly, the ride in total is kind of a subtle homage to the structure of the Shrek 4D ride. So it kind of should
Okay.
ideally feel kind of like it, but obviously be very much Megamind though.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing. Like when we get into my attraction, like it's going to use a few screens here and there. It's mostly going to be in theater animatronics. It's mostly going to be an animatronic show. So
well, again,
we'll get into it.
I kind of put my animatronics up front and around the place. So again, the
That
ride
makes sense.
itself, yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind
yeah.
of where I
Like I
put it.
said, like Toothless is kind of like a big tease of what you're going to see in the actual theater.
Right. So you got instead of like the red curtain with the Shrek 4D kind of footage, you have a blue curtain for Megamind.
Ooh.
So the idea is like this is like so we're in the middle of Megamind's presentation at the start here. So we have like as a kind of a lot of fun kind of reverence for the original. So he's introduced by Roxanne, who's like building him up, and then of course we hear like probably some ACDC or something as Megamind is very well known for his presentation. As we hear a little bit of Guns N' Roses or something, and like the brain bots form like a giant Megamind head, like they did in the climax of the movie behind him. So that's like the big entrance. Minion here, basically as Megamind's giving his presentation, basically ensuring I ensure the people of Metrocity that that they're getting the hero that they deserve. Little Dark Knight shade.
Right.
And basically, as Megamind's basically doing kind of he's demonstrating his now heroic arsenal of justice, which basically the whole gimmick with Megamind going forward now is he's repurposed his tools of villainy into tools of heroism, which is kind of his signature. And as he's doing this little kind of brief demonstration, Minion is trying to interrupt him, telling about the impending prison break, and people are mostly going to crash his presentation imminently. So he demonstrates the arsenal real quick, and this basically sets up things that are going to be part of the ride here. Like he demonstrates the spider bot, the spider bot.
Spiders. I'm sorry, whenever you say that, it just makes me think of the Nostalgia Critic joke.
So the spider bot, kind of it's going around. The idea of the spider bot's like a big old puppy dog. That's the kind of the gag with the spider bot. It's a sentient sort of vehicle that kind of like it has like a little personality of its own. So it's got a little bit of a hitch in its giddy up as it kind of moves around. And basically, as it's moving around, kind of like the spider gag in Shrek, it kind of moves the seats around the 4D.
Right, yeah.
So like that, you also have a little bit of you have the dehydration gun being demonstrated. Megamind just kind of shooting it, perhaps add a little bit of I'll admit, I did lift a few things from, while I didn't go the animatronic route at the end, like we have in Muppet Vision. I did add a little bit of the Jimmy Neutron Nicktoon blast here and there because I love that ride just a little bit. Where like he's shooting the dehydration gun, so perhaps we have a few like beams of light that fire like practically in the ride, and basically the gag here is he's like firing at some targets. There's a misfire, and like the seat spritzes you with a little mist, like a little watery mist, because you have to rehydrate someone after you've dehydrated them. Oops, sorry, just let me fix that. Just add a little water, folks. It'll be fine. Idea he shot a rider. Anyway, okay, so then he's wearing the jetpack, which then lifts the seats up again. He's going to use the jetpack in the ride. Anyway, so then Roxanne patches Megamind to the warden of the prison to basically demonstrate that he has a nemesis, Hal Stewart. Of course, Hal Stewart, the Jonah Hill bad guy from the previous film. Basically,
I like the callbacks.
So yeah, Hal is kind of the unofficial sixth member of the Sinister Six, like Mysterio with No Way Home, if you will. And anyway, so Jonah Hill is just kind of basically it's like Jonah Hill trying to play sinister, like kind of like they set up like him being in Megamind's cell at the end. We're like, but he's being all goofy about it. He's just trying to be sinister, but he just doesn't have it in him without the super strength and the and the powers and everything. He just riffs. He's basically riffing for a bit, building to the reveal because the warden's getting called away by alerts going off. He says, "Oh, buddy boy, hey you, my friends are coming to get you." And they're gonna be your doom. See what I did there? I said doom. That's kind of that's kind of my estimation of Jonah Hill's kind of shtick that he would kind of put on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so be your doom. Enter the Doom Syndicate. So what I'm really proud of here is homaging how Megamind spoiled Metro Man's version of this very same moment of like he's like talking to the people of Metro City, and then Megamind crashes the party with a kind of a storm of brainbot clouds. In this case, actual storm from our weather villain of the group. So the Doom Syndicate arrives. Megamind's kind of chewing out Minion over. Why didn't you tell me about this, Minion? You had several opportunities to warn me this was going to happen. Sir, I try. Well, what? Anyways, Poor Minion. So there's they have some like quips and banter throughout the ride, like during the action, and basically the idea, the gag that Megamind, being a villain, he knows these guys. Like they went to the annual bad guy barbecue together. You know,
Right.
they have like they've had past exploits with each other.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
they
yeah.
being villains. So anyway, so then we have like the leader basically does all the talking. Keith David is psychedelic, pretty much speaks to speaks to how he speaks for he and his group and how they're crashing the ex villains party to show Metro City who's really in charge. Roxanne gets captured again, kind of like how Fiona gets captured in the Shrek ride. She gets captured by the most ridiculous of villains, by Jive Turkey, who flies off, probably saying some dumb stuff. And I love this, like basically Psychodelic's laying out some intense Keith David 70s disco kind of threats and dialogue, and of course then Jeff's like, yeah, and it just ruins his flow completely and then kidnaps her. And also Psychedelic, he exits on the Soul Train. Now the Soul Train essentially is like a repurposed subway car that flies like the Back to the Future 3 time traveling train.
Oh God.
So again, going full on absurd with that guy. Anyway, so Pumpy and Roxanne's been kidnapped. That's not good. Minion and Megamind, they save the audience from hot flashes, throwing fireballs at him. Again, maybe some practical kind of Spider-Man the Ride-esque kind of lights. Maybe not full-on pyrotechnics, but pink fiery lights. Let's see. So oh yes, Minion activates he's Minion's remotely controlling the giant robot suit to save us, the audience, and the riders, and we're being moved around during the ride because of that. Let's see. So some of the actions going on here. Minion's riding the spider bot himself, evading destruction worker, who basically Megamind is. He's never gotten over the fact that we outsourced the construction of Evil Lair, hasn't he? So let's see. Megamind's riding his jetpack through the storm and he's firing the dehydration gun a bit there. As I mentioned, we're saving the audience members. Megamind then, but he uses Lady Doppler, the weather villain's rain, to put out Hot Flash. After he uses Hot Flash, like fire blast, like basically mocks her, like makes fun of her with the age thing. She gets really mad and just like throws fireballs blindly at destruction worker. He goes down, gets the weather lady to put out the fire lady, and then uses electrical gloves to direct the lightning back at the weather villain after she throws some lightning at him. And okay, 3 villains taken down. Now we got to save Roxanne from the other 2. So to the invisible car. I'd like to say there's going to be a na-na-na-na sound effect when he goes to the invisible car.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah.
So he rides in the
I
invisible
like how you're
car.
just throwing in like all these, like it's like a mixed multimedia of like all these different theme park or not theme park but superhero concepts.
Absolutely. So chasing the invisible car, save Roxanne, Megamind and Minion. They sorry, so I love this. So they enter with a flourish, like an awesome flourish, much like how Shrek and Donkey, they eventually kind of catch up to Fiona. She's about to be thrown off the bridge. So they enter to save the day with kind of a flourish, and Jive Turkey's tough talk, and Megamind just shooting his mouth off with all the 70s kind of jivisms you can think. And Megamind, just without missing a beat, shoots him with the dehydration gun, and Minions like sweeps him up into a pail or something, just like mid-sentence, like Jive, because Megan doesn't have time for this fool. Just like, bam, hits him with the dehydration gun, little cube on the ground. So Psychedelic, this big shtick, his whole power set is that he likes like fear gas. He pumps in purple gas, which may be a practical effect in the theater. Purple kind of smoke is kind of put into place. And disco lights enter as well. So basically, people hallucinate disco when that's his power.
Oh,
so
God.
there's Tiki, seriously, so he's created a literal Dreamworks dance party as the climax. So,
oh no.
So
that's great. That's great.
So the rides are kind of dancing the disco, like a giant disco ball is entered and everything, and that
man.
sort of thing. So Megamind, Roxanne, she's in a death trap of some variety, a disco themed death trap, I'm sure. Anyway, so Megamind, he's basically he's in a dance fight with him. Megamind's we know Megamind can bust a move. We know that. So like these dance fighting him, and like they're shooting weapons at each other, and like he's like hitting them with. Anyway, so they're fighting amidst the dance fight.
Balthazar Brat when you need him, Dragon?
I know, right? That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So anyway, so Minion saves her from the death trap. I want to say using Robo Sheep. Yes, right, folks. I said Robo Sheep. It was one of the gag being Megamind listed at a bunch of these villain death traps he used on Metro Man that never worked. So I figured I'd use like either that or Typhoon Cheese. I thought Robo Sheep kind of worked a little better. This uses Robo Sheep to kind of help get her out of Dodge. I just imagine like kind of like a sheep that's slightly robotic and has kind of like but when it enters, it plays like the Terminator theme. Dun 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 dun. Just to give it kind of a flourish when Minion says, kind of like he says the Black Mamba, Robo Sheep. Dun 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 dun. Anyway.
Someone should make a comment that the ride's not there anymore when the Terminator theme plays. Or like, oh man, I missed that ride.
Oh, Minion, I missed that ride too.
Kind of like a little, not the little motorboats kind of moment.
Yep. Minion, we can't play that music anymore. Why not, sir? The ride's not around anymore. What? Anyway, so they drop the disco ball on the psychedelic. Then you think it's all over. Hot Flash returns, like burning bright. You think, okay, we're doomed. And Megamind just like he whistles, like he calls the Brainbots the sicker boys. They all swarm on her, and she's taken care of. So then the ending is Roxanne. Roxanne gets a little romance, throw a little bit of romance at the end of the ride, much like the end of the Shrek ride. You know, they're going to their honeymoon. You know, Roxanne, nice relationship going on there. She thanks him. She kind of realizes she's being filmed. By the way, the cameraman for her is a Brainbot. It's a little nod there.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, so she composes herself, and then she asks, "Hey, can I drive the invisible car?" Because they realize the Megamind symbol is now like in the sky. Like, hey, you mind if I drive the invisible car? Sure. She says she's driving the invisible car, and they tell Minion to add the train to their trophy room, much like Batman has in the Batcave. So Minion in the giant in the giant suit, in the giant robot suit, he's carrying the train, and the spider bots crawling on him. And he says, "Thanks for riding, folks. Thanks for stopping by." And with the giant boombox, he's playing Mr. Blue Sky.
Nice.
That's the ride.
All right, Dragon, I'm very impressed. I think you had a lot of moving parts here that all work together very well. I think I really like all the pop culture references, along with just the kind of like the framework of other Universal attractions. I think this is a great pitch from you. I'd be proud of it if I were you.
Okay.
On my end, I'm going to warn you, I don't have things nearly as detailed, like on a beat by beat kind of level. I just have like a general structure in mind. So with my structure, Dragon, we're going to be using 6 sets of dragons. We're going to be using 6 sets of dragons. And by sets, I mean like the dragon trainer and then their dragons. So those different groupings are going to be Astrid and Stormfly, Fish Legs and Meatlug, Snotlout and Hook Fang, Barf and Belch, and then Rough Nut and Tough Nut, Eret, son of Eret, and Skull Crusher, and then also Valka and Cloud Jumper. Okay. So those are going to be like our main players here.
Gotcha.
So basically, Dragon, the way that the theater is set up is it's set up where in the middle of the theater is this big pile of rubble. Now, this pile of rubble is going to act as kind of like a hidden animatronic storage area where the animatronics of the different dragons are all going to be stored within this rubble, like and kind of like in the style of the American Adventure, where all the animatronics are kind of like stored under the stage. That's kind of like where I got my inspiration. And then the action will happen on top of the rubble. And the audience is divided into 2 different camps, Dragon. They're divided into 2 different camps. And they have each chair has 6 different buttons, corresponding with Astrid, Fish Legs, Rough Nut and Tough Nut, Snotlout, Eret, son of Eret, and Valka. So, Dragon, essentially the first half of the show is we have a couple screens on, like, they're not necessarily screens. They're more kind of like, I mean, they're screens, but, they're kind of, I don't know, how do I explain it? It's like, like it looks like they're just it's almost like a Pepper's Ghost kind of thing, right? Like I don't know, I'm not explaining it well, but the that's how you get the actual the characters, not the dragons themselves, but the characters are through kind of like let's call it
It sounds to me like the dragons are animatronic, the characters are animated, and they're being projected by the screen thing you're describing. Am I at all in the ballpark there? Or am I
yeah, you're in the ballpark there, yeah.
Okay.
So I just think I'm not describing it well, but if you can picture that.
Can you picture that?
All right, so Dragon, basically, very simply, the first half is just all the different dragons coming out one after another, giving a brief demonstration of their power sets. And then the voting happens. And this is where the fun part of the attraction comes in, and the interactive part, and also the thing that's going to give this attraction a lot of rewritability. Because all these dragons are programmed to fight with each other on either side. And so when the voting comes in, like both sides of the theater will vote on which dragon they want to see representing their side. And so after the voting comes in, then we get a specialized scene with the dragons fighting each other, and also we'll see animatronics of their dragon trainers up there on the rubble with them. So that's going to be kind of like the big act 2 of the attraction, is the actual fight. And like I said, Dragon, this is going to be big because there's a lot of different combinations of different dragons that could fight each other. And also, there's going to be combinations where they're on one side of the stage versus the other side of the stage. Basically, Dragon, it's going to be a lot of different pre-rendered animatronic animations. It's going to be super ambitious in that regard. And the audience is going to have a hard time seeing all of it unless they just do the attraction over and over again. It's definitely going to have the rewritability factor there with, what different combinations of dragons the audience can get. But then the big finale moment is when Hiccup sees the error of his ways, and there's a big animatronic moment where he comes in riding the Night Fury version of Toothless, with the glowing eyes and everything. And he decides to break up the fight and basically Dragon, I have in my notes, he gives a Pokemon aren't meant to fight, not like this kind of speech. But it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. And then Gobber will come in like Hiccup, this was your idea. And then Hiccup's like, well, yeah, I'm doing my best. I thought it'd be a good idea, but when I saw the dragons fight each other, I was like, can't we all just get along? I don't know. It's going to be like kind of like a little bit of self-parody on on Hiccup's over the top kind of people-pleasing nature. Like he thinks it's a really good idea for basically for the dragons to be showcased and get attention, but also for to raise awareness and education. What he doesn't realize is that it's the dragons fighting each other, and he loves the dragons and very much respects the dragons. And like I said, Dragon, Pokemon aren't meant to fight, not like this. So yeah, it's kind of like the big dramatic. And I don't know, maybe we'll give Volca some big dramatic moment with Hiccup as well. Maybe like a father or a mother son kind of like coming to terms with each other, where Volca probably is more on the side of wanting this exhibitionism, whereas Hiccup's a little bit more like he's attracted to the idea of it, but he hasn't really thought it through. And speaking of not thinking things through compared to your attraction, Dragon, I really feel like I haven't thought mine through. Because that's about all I have. But I don't know, Dragon, what do you think of the whole the rewritability factor and the fact that the audience gets to vote on the dragon fights and everything?
Well, I'll tell you, Tiki, I'm a little split on yours because there are elements of it I really do like. I mean, I like your presentational thing of like the whole like Pepper's Ghost sounding thing, the whole like projecting the animation and doing like the animatronic. That sounds great, and the whole the voting system sounds sounds interesting to me, but there are two elements I find problematic.
Okay.
The main element, I think I see where you're going with it. I just don't think the building blocks are quite there, or necessarily settling in the concrete, as it were. The moment you said they're fighting each other, that's when you kind of lost me. I gotta be honest. The whole fighting thing, and then when you punchlined it with the whole Pokemon, that was what I was thinking already. I was like, I don't know if I want that Headshot Dragon though. I don't want like a
Dragon. Like I said, it's supposed to be a little bit tongue in cheek, where it's like, like the dragon are kind of like fighting each other like wrestling style. You know what I mean? It's more of an exhibition match than anything else.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the thing I can't 100% discount it, because I mean, the first How to Train Your Dragon movie did have you fighting dragons and stuff. But to be fair, that was more so Vikings against dragons trying to kill them. But then again, you had the whole Toothless versus Hook Fang thing. That was the closest thing you had to a dragon fight. I don't know. I mean, to me, Tiki, I think your solution, and this would gum up your voting thing, but I think the cool thing to do, if I were to make a suggestion to basically keep your structure but make an alteration, it would be, if it were, we introduce our main guys. Let's say, for example, like if anything were to hit the cutting floor, it would probably be Hiccup's mom and Aerith, son of Aerith. Not that I don't want to see
that's
him.
totally fine. Yeah, they are. I basically just got them in there just to get the count to 6.
That's what I'm saying. So what I would recommend is perhaps it's an encounter with a new dragon that the audience would vote on the new dragon to see in animatronic form, and you'd have an encounter. Either that, or perhaps for simplicity's sake, you get to perhaps pick which dragon rider would basically have the encounter with the new, like, the dragon to be revealed. That's what I do. So would be less like fighty fight. It'd be more like, okay, let's see this thing. Let's see, kind of like represent the whole dragon meeting man element, but we kind of have like an element that is interacting. We get to pick which dragon we like best. So we get to see the rider and their dragon encountering this, like a different dragon entirely. So that's what I would.
I could see that. I just how many different variations would there be?
Well, I mean, let's see. You would probably, I mean, let's see. So let's just say you'd also have Hiccup in the fray, just for the heck of it. You'd have like, Hiccup, Astrid, Snotlout. You'd have.
No, I'm saying how many different variations of the new dragons? Like how?
That's what I'm saying. For simplicity's sake, as I was saying, if you change the rider, then you could just have one dragon, or vice versa, where it's the same person having interaction. Then you'd have up to how many dragons you think would be practical to build.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, depending, if, for example, if you wanted like the big giant like dragon from the end of How to Train Your Dragon 2, like one of the elemental.
I was kind of playing around with that, with the idea of like the dragons going from the exhibition style match to like that's what transitions into a Pokemon aren't supposed to fight, not like this.
Yeah, I mean, I can't name it offhand, but I mean the show put a bunch of different variations of dragon that were outside of our main ones. So, I mean, you could pick any number of those if you wanted. Like Skull Crusher came from the animated show, so there you go. Like Skull Crusher,
right, yeah.
So, like a dragon like that, you could pull from if you want. If you want to go for variety of just like a different dragon, then you probably pull one from the mythology of the shows and something, just to kind of, but realize it in animatronic form, which would be something people have not seen. Basically, be something that people, unless they're deep cuts into the How to Train Your Dragon's lore, I think they'd be in for a surprise each time, no matter what they picked, and they'd be given a selection. Wouldn't you want to see this kind of rendered in live action? Essentially, yes, I would. Basically,
it's a solid idea for sure.
Basically, in general, I'm not fond of the fighting idea, but I like presentationally where your heart's at with this thing. I do.
Yeah, and I've always been keen on the idea of like an animatronics theater show.
Yeah.
Working in a modern day context, because I feel like animatronics have advanced so much these days that you really could do something really spectacular with it.
Yeah.
And I really do think How to Train Your Dragon is it's a perfect franchise to represent in animatronic form.
Oh, for sure. I mean, again, I've seen a little bit of that. Here's the thing. It's weird. I looked at the some of the Dubai stuff, and basically I think what we have here on the image, I think this is just like they have a bunch of really awesome toothless statues. I don't know if it's animatronic, but if they did, I really wish the animatronic would look exactly like this, because
when I was laying out the toothless animatronic in the pre-show, that's basically like exactly what it would look like. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I saw this weird thing once. I don't know if it was in Dubai or not. I assume it was. They have like this live show with the dragons, and I assume they're animatronic. They could just be a puppetry thing, but I think it's I think it's regardless. I think it's an animatronic puppet of some variety, just to explain how the heck they did it. The proportions, they're realistically proportioned, which looks really weird, and that they have to make them look more realistic, so you kind of lose the cat aesthetic with Toothless. So he just looks a little bit more like it's like beefier and realistic. It's like one of those overly detailed CG renders. Have you ever seen any of
Right.
those?
Right.
Like
Exactly.
it's like
Yeah.
one of those. So that's I think that would be the key with your animatronics that would set it apart from what's been kind of realized already. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but that'd be the key to success with this thing if you keep the the authenticity of the original design.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other final thoughts with these?
I have gift shop suggestions.
Go ahead.
So, and right now, well, again, I say right now in the temporary sense, I suppose. The Shrek gift shop has like a bunch of DreamWorks movies sectioned off there, which I think is a cool idea. But I'll tell you what DreamWorks franchise is completely absent: Megamind. Here's the merch I want from my
Yeah,
Megamind
Megamind is
attraction.
definitely especially in the wake of superheroes becoming really popular, and Megamind being kind of like an ahead of its time commentary on the genre.
Hmm.
I could definitely see merch going over well.
So the kind of stuff I'd want to see is I'd like to
A
see
bunch
like
of
kind of
gadgets, I'm
yes,
imagining.
toy versions of the gadgets. Primarily, I
Uh-huh.
think the one that'd go over big, a toy version of the dehydration gun. I think that'd go over big.
What about Minion is like one of those Billy Basses?
Oh, that's good. I didn't think of that. I was thinking like the Minion action figures that they kind of put out. So like
Uh-huh.
Megamind did have a brief action figure line that was like really cool. So I'd say they put some like new ones of those out. I'd say I'd build a brain bot. Customize your own brain bot. Remote control spider bot. Definitely one of those. Some stuff. So figure of the battle suit, t-shirts. The odd one, capes. Megamind brand capes.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
And you could
It'd
own the Black Mamba.
be like the equivalent to the Harry Potter robes.
There you go. Yeah. All right, and there you go.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just couldn't think of any gift shop ideas, especially because I kind of muddied the waters with the, like, I don't know. I was kind of thinking about doing like a Duloc store, but it's like, yeah, but how are you going to get How to Train Your Dragon merchandise in the Duloc store? I don't know. It's weird. Like, I'm not really sold on the idea I have with the Shrek, crossover stuff. I think it, like I said, I think it's muddying the waters a little bit, but I do think it kind of keeps in the tradition of these Universal Studios rides, kind of like acknowledging that they are taking place within a theme park. So yeah, that's kind of like where my head was at a little bit. And then with the whole like Pokemon aren't meant to fight, not like this, I was just kind of trying to do some pathos, but I don't really think I explained it very well. So,
Right.
all right, not my strongest work, Dragon, but we will plug forward next week. So, folks, we will definitely be putting up a poll for next week's topic soon, which will include Super Billy's suggestion of a Rise of the Guardians attraction, as well as Theme Park Priest's Sonic the Hedgehog suggestion. So, Dragon, get on that. Get on the Sonic research potentially. Very excited, very happy to have Super Billy and Theme Park Priest here. I'm really trying to make this a flagship of the channel, guys, because it's been too long since we've had an actual Imagineering related podcast. So God, I've never really said this, but share it. If you like this, share it. Like it, share it around. Post it on Reddit. I honestly think posting it on Reddit would probably be the single most valuable thing you could possibly do. Anyways, much more valuable than just like and subscribe. So, all right. Well, folks, the blue skies mean our work is done. But you better batten down the hatches because there's another storm coming that'll be bigger. That'll be a bigger, better ride of tomorrow than ever before. Remember, if you can dream it, You can do it.
Oh no.
Pokemon are meant to fight.